these are significant and serious claims that you're making there. If I could come to you now, Pradeep, how do you react to that assessment of the situation? My question was, what had triggered the recent upsetting violence in Leicester? How do you respond?
Well, I think first of all, it's very disturbing to hear of these incidents of outbreaks of violence in Leicester and Birmingham. I think there is only one thing we can do at the moment as a community leaders, to condemn without any hesitation that this should not happen in the UK in the first place. And I think of all the places to talk about, Leicester, for example, if you look at the demographics of Leicester, I mean, we have, just upwards of 30% Christians, around 20% Muslims, and I would say to equal measure, just under 16% or so Hindus. And Leicester should be one place. It should be a beacon of social cohesion. And this kind of thing happening where we have, some people may call it race riots, maybe hints of sectarian violence, and all these things. I think this should be the last thing we want to see here. But I think looking ahead, more important is how do we stop this from rampaging around other towns and cities. I think that is very important. There could be, people say there are a lot of, trigger points in this cricket match, and obviously social media had a role to play in this and things like that. But I think it's still early days. I'm sure the authorities, including the police and intelligence, they must be looking at it.
But why there? As you say, Leicester has long been held up as a success story for multiculturalism. So, of all places, why Leicester and why now? Has something changed in terms of the proportions, the balance between groups? Has there been a change that might, at root, explain what has erupted recently?
Yeah. Neil, I would like to, I don't know if you're speaking to me or not, I would like to say, again, the Leicester, I've been living there for many times, teaching there and they were all okay. But unfortunately, again, the root coming from the India, the root coming from the Kashmir, these are happening. And again, the government, you don't understand it. At the moment, the government of India says there is on the registration, the national certificate or national registration, which called RNC or NCR, NRC. Sorry, this is they do not give it to Muslim. Anyone can apply against except the Muslims. There are many things happening, and of course, it is again. I said some time ago for other TVs that it is started, and if the government of UK do not intervene, if the United Nations do not intervene, 25 million Bangladeshis, which they were originally for about 200, 300 years there, they want to throw them out. There are, again, I'm saying it, there is no problem. There are camps, they want to make a concentration camps to put it like a China. You have to remember, a United Nations must intervene. It is going to spread in this country. They have been trained. These young people has been trained, and of course, unfortunately,
Dr. Ramsey, I just have to come in. I have to come in on what you're saying. You're very much referencing
Buddhists. I love Hindus. I love the Hindus.
Dr. Ramsey, you're very much referencing what's happening in the subcontinent, what's happening in India. I need, though, to consider what's happening in Leicester, in Birmingham, in England. Pradeep, can I come to you? Is there a possibility of this having happened in Leicester spreading elsewhere? There's already been something. There have already been incidents in Birmingham. This having happened in Leicester, are we looking at something that's going to spread?
Yeah, I think we have to be careful. I mean, again, I think I would say this: whether my fellow friend here on the program agrees with the policies of the Indian government or not, I think we have to be mindful we cannot solve the problems of the world here on the streets of UK. I mean, obviously, you are entitled to your point of view, but that is something that the government of India has obviously chosen to undertake. And if the British government has any issues with that, let the British government take that up with the Indian government. But we cannot be living these issues and trying to settle them on the streets of UK. That is my point. And that is precisely, I think, what we are discussing here. Let us discuss what went wrong. Let us discuss whether the policing response was robust, timely, and proportionate or not. But we cannot solve the problem of Kashmir in Leicester and Birmingham. Rest assured. Again, I think there are a lot of other ways we are seeing. Obviously, there is no denying. We are seeing a more assertive politics in the UK. We are seeing obviously identity politics. We have to look at whether the intelligence mechanism has been functioning the way it should be or not. But this is something which has been happening for a long time. But you're right. I think now we are seeing increasingly these flashpoints are becoming more and more frequent and more and more violent, and that is worrying for me. But I would say, yes, I think I think going back to what my fellow friend was saying, what goes on in some of these HSS organizations. Well, on Friday, I know what goes on. Yes, in the UK, in many towns, we have what he's referring to, the gatherings. These are gatherings of children called Bal Gokulam, we call it. Bal is children. And basically, a bunch of children's getting together so they do not lose their cultural heritage. They are chanting shlokas in Sanskrit. Obviously, they are learning about keeping in touch with the Indian and Hindu culture. That is what goes on. So I've seen a lot of them. Sometimes I go there as well. So I think let us not generalize. If there are obviously, if there is terrorism being exported, if there is fundamentalism being exported, we have to tackle that. The authorities, I'm sure personally, I would admit, they have to do a better job